us more.
Oh!
You smack your microphone with your tea. What is in that tea? You're extra loopy today. This is what the people want.
No, it's the tea that I literally drink every single day.
This is what the people are here for. Hey, it's the Luskos. This is Levi
and Jennie.
And we are your hosts. Thank you for joining us for this podcast extraordinaire. Jennifer, quit parenting me.
No, the people need to see your eyes. That's what
if you're on video,
our camera person said.
She said it is hard to see your eyes. She insinuated I looked suspicious because of the brow of my hat. I am wearing a Wyoming hat today with a buffalo on it that was given to you by our good friends, the Guidos, who lead our church in Jackson Hole.
And we share hats. Although that's a controversial subject.
We have a hat basket, and we pull hats from it as needed.
Well, this is a difficult subject for me because my head is significantly bigger than yours. And so whenever we share hats, I know when you've been wearing mine because I can't fit it on my head.
You put the hat on and you're like, what small-headed person has been wearing this hat?
So either you have a small head or I have a really big head.
That is interesting thoughts.
But we'll never really know.
Have you ever considered that the massive amount of hair you have factors into this? Because in my estimation, when you put a hat on, it's like trying to pull a hat on over a beanie. So it might have anything to do with our heads. It might have something to do with your thick and vivacious, lovely head of hair.
We should actually measure our heads.
It's well, first you have to shave your head to make it a fair fight. So if you shave your head, I am all for the skull measurement parade.
I tried to once.
To shave your head?
When lice went through our family.
Ooh, yeah, I talked you out of that one. You were about to make a permanent decision out of a short-term feeling.
It was an emotional decision.
Yes.
Because it was right after Lenny went to heaven. And there was already like grief. And then it was
lice. Lice came through our head.
Lice came through our
whole
home.
I
it
feared.
Was in your beard.
No, I didn't have lice in my beard. I feared that the lice had gotten into the beard, but they did not. It was a great fear. But did I shave my beard?
No.
I did not. Because lice
you didn't
comes
have it, but I did look.
And lice goes, but hair is forever. Hair springs eternal. We also had a cold in our home. Everyone had a cold. We were sick. I remember literally writing in my journal, like, I feel like Job, death and bugs and a sickness. And it was so cold. Remember how cold it was?
Very cold.
It's like sub-zero. It was January. We were just like, I remember being sick, cold. You were just at your wit's end looking for nits. And you said, Levi, I want to shave my head. And I said, sweetheart, I support you, whatever you do, but don't shave your head over lice. If you feel a calling and a conviction and a real sense of purpose in shaving your head, that's one thing. But you'll regret it.
Yeah. I'm glad you talked me off the ledge. And a friend did too, who was the one picking nits out of my hair.
I think, there's a time and a place for shaving your head, but emotions shouldn't be high. It's like getting a tattoo while you're drunk. You know what I mean? You should really not do that.
They just think about it.
When you're impaired,
yeah,
you can't trust your objectivity. Well, we're off the starting blocks and right down into this thing, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for what is going to be, I believe, a special episode.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's always special.
Jennie, it's the last week of May. Nope, first week of April. Last week of April. We're barreling towards the first week of May.
Oh.
What's your emotions? What's your mood? What is the end of April and the beginning of May? What's April in Spanish?
April showers bring May flowers.
That's true.
Abril.
Is it really April?
Abril with a B.
I think May might be my favorite month to say in Spanish. Mayo. Cinco de Mayo, just around the corner.
And it's your birthday month.
Birthday month, just around the corner.
Mother's Day month.
Mother's Day, just around the corner.
Springtime.
Yes. April 29th
I love springtime.
Is the date today. I feel like that's a made-up number.
April 29th?
It feels, because you just got so lulled into this 28-day month in February, and then you come back around to April.
March.
Ah.
So there's February, which 29th only happens every 4 years.
Februario. Is that February in Spanish?
Febrario.
Febrario?
Enero. Febrero.
Febrero. Like a sombrero?
Enero.
Enero.
Enero is January. Febrero is
Can it be
February.
Febrario? It's not it.
Could be.
In a made-up world. Some things about today. Extensive research was done, and it found out that today is Andre Agassi's birthday. I love Andre Agassi.
Yeah.
One of the best books I've ever read is his autobiography.
Wow.
I'm not joking when I say that Open by Andre Agassi was a riveting read.
I'm excited to read it one day.
His father was a tyrant who made him hit so many millions of balls. And that was what groomed Andre into being such a phenom, but it also made him really resent the sport too.
Yeah.
He had a love-hate relationship with tennis. I grew up with Andre Agassi as very much a role model.
He was I
the
would watch
GOAT.
tennis.
He was the Roger Federer.
You grew up playing tennis.
He was also the bad boy of tennis.
I grew up watching tennis.
I
never played.
I did not know you watched tennis.
Yeah. My dad would always watch it, so I'd watch it with him. So McEnroe and Agassi were, I remember very clearly. I don't remember anybody else.
Yeah.
Pete Sampras.
Agassi refused to wear white. He wanted to wear color. When you went to Wimbledon, you were always supposed to wear white clothes. It was this posh upper crust thing. And he wanted to wear color. And it was just, he had the mullet. Although it wasn't called the mullet back then, it was just called the Agassi.
Really?
That's how I called it.
Oh.
I wanted the Agassi. Spiky on top, long in the back. You mean a mullet? No. I want the Andre Agassi.
That's
also,
cute. Little Levi.
On this day in history, this is going way back to 1945. Got a little dark. Adolf Hitler married Eva Braun.
I didn't know he was married.
Oh, yeah.
Did he have kids?
Oh. They got married very close to when they took their lives.
Oh, they took their lives together?
Bunker. Oh, yeah. Suicide pact.
I did not know that.
Right there at the end. They got married in the bunker under Berlin. The armies were rolling in on the city. They had a pretty twisted relationship.
Oof.
As one could imagine. We're talking about Hitler.
Adolf Hitler.
FYI. It's amazing how much he comes up into this conversation. Did you just get the heebie-jeebies? Second time in the conversation. We need a heebie-jeebie counter. Jenny got it talking about lice and Adolf Hitler and his nuptial agreement.
Oh.
Today's Jerry Seinfeld's birthday. Happy birthday, Jerry.
Happy birthday, Jerry.
And Andre, we didn't wish you a birthday happiness. What do you think about Jerry Seinfeld?
I love Jerry Seinfeld.
What do you love about him? Tell me everything.
Hold nothing back.
Hold nothing back. No, I'm serious. I could talk a long time with you about this.
He's hilarious. And I'm so.
Yes.
He's so funny.
This is titillating. Captivating.
Wow, Levi Lusko. Okay, you tell me.
Just
Obviously,
funny?
he's.
What does he mean to you? What does he mean to you, really?
Oh, you need to be talking.
No, I want to listen.
I'm a good judge of someone who's funny.
Yeah.
And he's very funny.
Like, are you holding up cards like at the Olympics? Like, what are you talking about? 7.2? What does Dane Cook get?
Oh, man.
Mitch Hedberg? Where does it end?
Well, I think mostly
Brian Regan.
The show. But then, obviously, I mean, you are the one listening to him all the time, like interviews and all that stuff. I enjoy listening to him. He's just a funny.
Do you know any Jerry Seinfeld
seemingly
jokes?
Kind man.
Do you have any Jerry Seinfeld jokes off the top of your head?
No.
None?
No.
What about a favorite Seinfeld character from the show?
I don't know. I like them all.
Elaine?
I don't like them individually. I like them all together.
Interesting. It's like not liking baking soda and flour and milk, but you love cookies.
Yeah. Exactly.
So remember when we saw Elaine at the airport?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty starstruck.
At the Kalispell airport, of all places.
For sure. Checking in at the Delta ticket counter.
Yeah.
I'll never wash that hand again.
It's been years.
I stick to my guns.
COVID. Oh,
You just smacked your microphone with your tea. What is in that tea? You're extra loopy today. This is what the people
no, it's
want.
the tea that I literally drink every single
This
day.
is what the people are here for.
But there's a quote that says, "Someday is not a day of the week."
Ooh, burn.
Mhm.
Jerry Seinfeld, to me, what I like the most about him is his work ethic. Prodigious work ethic.
Hmm.
It's so well documented and so storied. It's actually become literally the Seinfeld method of creative execution.
Wow.
The Seinfeld method, where he would famously put an X on his calendar, literally a paper calendar on his wall, if he wrote jokes that day. It didn't have to be a lot of jokes, it might be 3 jokes. But if he did his quota for that season of joke writing, he would write a big X on the calendar, and then he would go, that was enough.
Hmm.
And then the next day, if he did that day's work, he would write an X on the board that day. And his goal was to have the longest sequence of uninterrupted X's.
Wow.
And it's been called the Seinfeld method of just saying literally break your goal, whether it's a screenplay or launching a business or writing a record or doing any sort of thing to improve yourself, breaking it into little pieces and then having a physical tactile, thing on the wall where you would just, I wrote 3 jokes. That's enough. And
Brilliant.
I love that about him. Also love that he says that the creative output is a tonnage game. So, you don't have to worry about every joke being a great joke or in my world, our world, every sermon being a great sermon. It's
Hmm.
just knowing like there's going to be days where you have singles, you're going to have doubles, you're going to have triples. You can't walk away every time feeling like that was a home run. There's going to be times when you just do the work and, there's just, it's I always tell songwriters the only way to write a good song is be willing to write a bad song. The only way to
Hmm.
write a good sermon is be willing to write a bad one. There's going to be sometimes, and when I say bad, I don't mean doctrinally wrong. It's like, oh, that Sunday you said Jesus is actually not the only way to God for salvation. I'm
Wow.
just saying there's going to be some that tend to hit harder and you
They're
get
not
more.
all going to sizzle.
There you go. And
And there's a steadiness to just showing up, doing what you're doing, and continue. And there's a strength, I think, to that. There's a strength to just showing up and doing what you can and doing
and
your
just
best and
knowing
just
that when you do get to that one that's great, it very much has everything to do with the ones that you just did the work and they were okay.
Mhm.
And it's a little bit like Joshua and the Battle of Jericho. They walked 7 days and they did 7 laps the 7th day, one lap each day up to then, and none of the walls fell until they got to the 7th lap of the 7th day and blew the ram's horns.
Yeah.
But everything they had done in the previous days contributed towards the ultimate success. So
Right.
Jerry Seinfeld's line is success is a tonnage game. Writing is a tonnage game. Creative output's a tonnage game, meaning you just have to just keep going even when you don't feel like today was the day it slayed. And
Yeah.
when you finally do get to this great joke, it's going to very much have everything to do with the earlier things that came
Yeah.
through that.
Yeah. That's so good.
And then he also has this,
How do you even remember all this?
well,
Just all in your
it
brain.
resonated with me
Yeah.
when I heard him say it. He also said that he never talks about work he's done the day he did it. So if he finishes his writing goal for the day, he doesn't go out and tell his wife, and say, I wrote today, or, go out and tell. He says he has that quiet secret that he did his work that day.
I love that.
And the next that's enough. And then the next day, maybe he may show it to his wife or tell someone about it. He just kind of has that inner little secret of like, I accomplished something. He said that's his own reward. And then he also
That's
has this
inspiring.
thing he says about treating yourself like a kindergartner, but then also like a kindergarten teacher, but then also treating yourself like a drill sergeant and knowing when is needed. So he says he'll when he's trying to get himself to get through writer's blocks and just he's like a kindergarten teacher to himself. Come on, little Jerry, you can just write one more joke, little one.
Good job.
You can have snack time afterwards.
Sticker. You can get a sticker.
Yeah, but then when he edits and he's coming back in to edit the next day, the joke from yesterday, now he's like putting the cigarette out. See what the crap you wrote. Look, you're like, oh, this is terrible. Like almost like, and I've found that to be the case in creative output, in knowing that when I create, I have to be in a different state of mind than when I edit.
Yeah.
Do you feel that?
Yeah. I mean, it's the tension of all the all different, like not personas, but like what you need to be for this moment, what you need to be for this moment. It's kind of like when we've talked about like Velvet Steel or like Velvet Sheathed Murder, that book, Death in the Long Grass, like leopards, they're
Lions.
I think that's leopards.
Lions.
They're called Velvet Sheathed Murder?
Because lions' claws are retractable.
Oh, right. Forget what that was
Or
about.
I don't think leopards are.
No.
I think just lions are.
But just that idea of like lions can be tender with their cubs, but then those same hands, claws come out and they're tearing things apart. So it's like it's that tension of, okay, what is needed?
Even with yourself.
And with myself and the tools, like, okay, my inner coach needs to come out right now. Or
knowing when to be firm, knowing when to be encouraging. That's a really important distinction.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have that down perfectly, but to aim for that, like knowing that, okay, in this moment, Jennie, you've got this, or Jennie, that was actually the worst.
Yeah, we actually need to look at this now and ask the question, how can this get better? How can we improve this? And what are you trying to say? And what is the listener going to think? Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot to love about Jerry Seinfeld when it comes to process, output, and just excellence. So happy birthday, Jerry Seinfeld. And
all that to say,
let's talk about Newman, right? You got to love Newman, AKA Dennis Nedry. Yeah, Jurassic Park. Hello, Newman. I mean, how could you not love Kramer? You don't love Kramer by himself?
I do.
Take Kramer by himself. Funny all day long.
But also crazy and doesn't make a lot of sense without
100%. Eating in the shower.
Seinfeld.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. George Costanza. Very good.
Yeah.
Modeled after the Larry David true life character.
Yeah. You know way more than I do. So
have
I'm
you
just
watched
gonna
all of
agree
Seinfeld?
to agree. I don't think so. When you broke your femur.
Wow, thanks for bringing that up. Shots fired. Yeah, I posted a picture of snowboarding a while back when it was still snowboarding time. And someone's first comment was like, hope this day doesn't end up like the day you broke your femur on a snowmobile. Like, I'm like, yeah, me too. Also, yeah, thanks. Hey, saw you at the ATM machine. Hope this day doesn't end in bankruptcy. It's like, come on, just take it to the worst place that possibly exists.
They need to call their inner encourager.
Yeah, or the drill sergeant. I'm going to call my inner drill sergeant to have a meeting with their inner encourager.
Oh, that's
gosh,
funny.
I love your laugh so much. It just crescendo so beautifully. It's like a waterfall.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. What are you doing later? Hey, Prince William married Kate Middleton on April 29th of 2011.
Oh, that's really wonderful.
Do you remember that wedding?
Nope.
Oh, come on. It was that huge royal wedding.
I'm sure it was amazing. I don't remember it.
I know everything's drama right now with Harry and Meghan, but before that, William and Kate. Remember David Beckham was there and Oprah was there, like in the front row.
That's incredible.
Do you remember watching that?
Nope.
It was such a big deal. Do you guys remember that? Everybody was talking about the royal wedding. It was the event of the century.
Meanwhile, Jennie.
Were there monkeys riding a tricycle in circles in your brain while juggling? That is hilarious.
Probably. No, that's too much of an exertion.
Oh gosh, what was the monkey doing on the tricycle? It's like Homer Simpson.
I think the monkey was just taking a nap.
Oh, in the hammock.
Yes.
Very nice.
Not much goes on.
I like it. Okay, so let's see what else happened today. Oldsmobile in 2004 built its final car after 107 years.
Wow.
Of producing automobiles.
In 2004. So
rest in peace, Oldsmobile.
Wow.
Did you ever have an Oldsmobile? Oh, we did. We had a Silhouette. It was that van shaped like a bullet, real aggressive slope, and then real long Oldsmobile Silhouette.
Nope, not ringing a bell. The monkey's still taking a nap.
Here it comes. Nope, here comes the Oldsmobile Silhouette. Ladies and gentlemen, you can Google it and you will see it, but this is the car. Ours was the real futuristic one. It looked like the Disneyland monorail. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Kind of looked like the monorail. Ours had a pink stripe on it.
Wow.
Yeah, that was childhood days for me, for sure.
We always had Toyotas.
Wow. Gosh, sorry we weren't as rich as you were.
We had a Toyota, a boxy, like 1970s Toyota van. And then we had the Toyota Previa, which looks like it would probably be the the Toyota version of
Did you
that.
have a conversion van? Okay, type in conversion van. We had this conversion van. It was those big, hideous looking vans. And yes, exactly. And that one right there. And not the super old kidnapper one. This one right here in the middle. Someone's like, watch out, kids. Don't
Oh
take ice cream from
gosh.
that van. No, we had that van right there. And it had a VCR and a tiny little TV.
Oh,
And so we could, get up and put a VCR and a videotape in.
that's a videotape.
A videotape.
Dang, you're old.
Yeah, gosh, that brings back some memories. Right there.
I like
right,
that green one
right
actually.
there. Yeah, so
Oldsmobile.
So Rip, you also had didn't you have a VW, the Van Holla, whatever that one is, the big?
No, my ballet teacher did.
Those are really
And
great.
she would pick us up for ballet class, and we'd ride in her van. I loved that. I always wanted one of
Ultimate
those.
surf vehicle, camper.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of fun.
Miss Patsy, that was my ballet teacher. She's
All
in
right,
heaven now.
Aw, and she made an impact on your life.
Yeah, she really did. She, because at the school I went to, we had to take ballet. Like every single person in the school had to take ballet at this school. And so she was the ballet teacher and also tap teacher. And I learned to love ballet because of her. And she also loved the Lord. And the school I was at wasn't a Christian school, but she was very much a believer. And so she was probably in her 60s when I started dancing with her, and just was an example to me. And even just how like she would write me cards, and even how she wrote was very like beautiful, and like how a ballerina would write. And I don't even know if I have those still, but she just impacted me greatly.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
You never know what kind of an impact you're making on a little kid.
Yeah.
Being a ballet teacher, and
Mhm.
here you are today, still living out of the fruit of that. I've heard
Yeah.
you talk about her a lot through our lives.
Mm.
Beautiful. Well, so that's all the
Time we
things
have?
happening on the 29th of April.
But it's also International Dance Day, ironically.
That's a perfect segue.
But I wonder what kind of dance? Just all kinds of
All
dance?
dance. It's a celebration of all kinds of dance.
International.
Wanted to say that we have something very exciting next week. We do have an episode coming up today, by the way. In just a minute, we're going to get into it. This was all just a long setup, a long road to freedom. We are going to be talking about next week your questions and answers. By the way, thank you so much to those of you who have sent in questions. I know this is going to be next week our third episode doing the Q&A. We have enjoyed that very much, especially having your voice in it. So it's still not too late. If you want to get a question in, here's the rules. Here's the format. You can either send us on Instagram a DM with a voice memo, or easiest probably way would be to send an email with a voice memo from your iPhone or other phone that can record an audio tape, cassette file, format, wave, bounce it down from Logic, bajang.
That's a language I do not know.
I don't even know what I'm saying.
Oh.
I mixed together like 4 metaphors, and none of them probably made sense to anybody.
Except for the last one.
Just bits and pieces of things I've heard other people say over the years. Oh yeah, got to bounce down that wave file. Yeah, just got to bounce down that track. Just got to master that MP3.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Just very quickly.
With my pocket accordion that I bounce down my files with, in my accordion. In my pocket. You couldn't fit an accordion in your pocket. Oh yeah, these are my baggy pants. these are my saggy britches. Not to be confused with my double-handed pot. These are my baggy britches where I keep my spare accordion from a bounce down of my bajongajonk. This is the quality content you've come for, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, whether you're listening on YouTube, Access More, Spotify, you can send in any question you have. It could be about marriage. It could be about vans. It could be about Jerry Seinfeld. It could be about whatever you really want. And send that to levi@freshlife.church. And we'll work some of your questions into the next episode. That'll be coming out next week, which will be May 6th.
Those are so fun. I love answering questions.
May 6th.
I feel like that's my favorite thing that we do.
It's a lot of fun.
Because we don't know what's coming.
No, we don't. We don't listen to them ahead of time.
We don't listen to them.
So Could go anywhere you want it to go.
We want it to go.
The only thing we ask is that at some point in your voice memo, bajongajonk, you tell us your name. You also take your shot at Hey, It's the Luskos jingle, or you give us your own suggestion of what the Hey, It's the Luskos jingle should be.
Yeah.
Whichever you choose.
Yeah.
And then ask us your question, and then we'll just work at it for our best. We have no guarantees we'll get anything close to an answer, but we'll at least puzzle over it together until our puzzlers are sore.
Doesn't take long for me.
Just a few minutes. We'll wake up that monkey from the hammock. We'll get that puppy engaged for a few. We'll just get some of those synapses firing.
Yep.
Make sure we get our solid 8 hours before we show up to the studio.
Sleep.
Wow. That's really funny. Yes, we were just talking about this. It's so weird how, because we're both wearing these sleep trackers that tell you how rested you are. I might sleep 8 hours, but it tells me my rest rate was only 40%. But I sleep last night, in this example, I slept 4 hours and 30 minutes, but it says I'm 71% rested. Figure that
But
one
how
out.
did you feel? Like without looking at it, did you feel rested?
I felt about the same.
So maybe this is all a joke.
It's not a joke. It's science.
I know, but wouldn't feel like, oh man, I feel so good today. Wouldn't that like?
Do you ever wake up and go like, I feel so good right now? I usually am like for a little bit. Like I'm a little bit like, it takes me
like right when you wake up.
Just a few minutes, like until I stretch and splash some water on my face and motivate myself to go get coffee. I'm usually like got some ache or something that's like, oh man, my bum shoulder's acting up again, you know. How many percentage of the time, how many days of the week do you wake up feeling just like, oh, this is a wonderful day to attack?
I mean, it's a small amount. I would say maybe one day of the week I feel amazing when I wake up in the morning. But even just my tracker has shown that I don't recover well.
When your tracker says you have a high rate of recovery, do you on those days also feel good?
Yeah, for the most part.
Interesting.
But not for you.
I need to go to the bathroom. I'm just always like, oh, like it just for at least a minute. And then like by the time I've got coffee made, I'm great.
But you feel rested.
I don't know. It's complicated.
It is complicated.
Okay. So that's next week's episode. We're going to talk all about your questions. We also have something today we thought we'd do that we've never done before. This is a Hey, It's Luskos first. And it's a little bit of a leadership talk.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
That we're going to do a leadership talk?
Yes.
I think it's great.
I think so.
Because we're all leaders.
There we go.
We're all, no matter whether we are leading a group of people or we're not.
You lead in your home?
We're all leaders. Even we're all leaders of ourselves. So it's like we're all leaders and God's called us all to be leaders. So a leadership isn't just for someone who's like a CEO of something, some business or leads a small group or whatever. Like we're all leaders and we all need.
That's right. And the world needs the contribution that you have to offer at work, at church, school, sports. Yeah. So a while back we had done a staff focus on the word resilience. And we came together as a staff at the church we lead, Fresh Life Church. And at our team gathering that month, we talked about what does it mean to be resilient? We spent that whole day on that value because in that meeting, we have 6 values that we have held up as behavioral values that matter to us at Fresh Life. And we hire through those, we interview through those, we hold each other accountable to them. And then they're the basis for reward and not punishment, but where there's corrective action plans, et cetera, or just a point of accountability.
Yeah.
It's something that we've laid out clearly so that anytime we see each other not holding these out, we have a very clear understanding of what's required of us and how maybe we're falling short. And I think that's really important if you're a leader to think through in your organization, what are you asking people to be held accountable to, and have you been clear enough to put it out there? Otherwise, people don't know what's expected of them.
Yeah.
Where you say, hey, this is what we have agreed together, we all value, what we're all striving for. It's an ideal. It at least makes it very clear and gives you real actionable conversations
It's
on,
helpful.
hey, this is what we saw last week that's maybe out of sync with what we're celebrating. So for us, one of those things that we said, hey, this is what it means to be on the staff. Part of it means you're resilient.
Yeah.
And so we thought, man, this would be an interesting conversation for us to have together with our podcast family, as you hopefully could grow in resilience as
Yeah. Yeah. So good.
well.
Um,
What are your
well,
initial impressions with the word when you think about what does it mean to be resilient?
well, it's funny because the year 2020, this was my word for the year, resilient. And the beginning of the year, you preached a message on how to be anti-fragile. And you were talking about like actually to be anti-fragile is better than being resilient because you're not just getting knocked down and coming back up. Like being anti-fragile is you're not like getting knocked down all the time. I mean, we all do, but your idea of being anti-fragile, resilient, those are kind of my words for the
Well, I kind
year
of see them both being like
together.
symbiotic.
Yeah, like two faces of one coin.
Yeah, because really, like if you look at psychology today, they define resilience as the psychological quality that allows some people to be knocked down, which is what you were talking about, of by the adversities of life and come back at least as strong as before, rather than letting the difficulties, traumatic events, or failure overcome them and drain their resolve. Highly resilient people find a way to rise from the ashes, change course, emotionally heal, and continue moving toward their goals.
Hmm.
I mean, and obviously hearing that, you're like, well, dang, yeah, I want that.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that sounds like something I would want in my life.
Yeah. But it was crazy that was kind of, I felt like my word for the year. And then 2020, it is just an interesting, it was like, okay, God, yeah, I see what you're doing. And even like, obviously, pandemic and just life change in our church, in our family, not traveling as much, me breaking my ankle, you almost losing your eye, like just a lot of stuff happened
Where we got knocked down.
where we got knocked down and we like I had to trust God and allow him to give me the strength to keep going and keep going and keep going
Yeah.
and not let those things pull me down all the way.
Well, and obviously when you look at what it means to be a Christian, I mean, just starting 30,000 foot, you can't help but see beginning to end that resilience,
Hmm.
that absolute quality of getting knocked down, but not only not staying down, but getting up better than you went down.
Yeah.
I mean, James says, "Blessed is the man who's steadfast in a trial, uh, for if he has withstood the test, he will receive the crown of life." Proverbs 24 says, "The righteous falls down 7 times and rises again."
Hmm.
Luke 18, Jesus said, if you don't give up in prayer, you'll get what you're praying for. Essentially, that's paraphrased, but he compared it to a widow who kept knocking, kept knocking, kept knocking, meaning she was rebuffed, not given what she asked for, but she kept knocking and eventually was given to it. She could have walked away bitter. Oh, he
Yeah.
never gives me what I want, but she kept knocking.
Hmm.
2 Corinthians 4, Paul says we have treasure in jars of clay. We get hard pressed, we get crushed, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned. So he's just basically saying to follow Jesus is to know you're going to go through hardship after hardship after hardship after hardship, but to know that you're being given over to life for Jesus' sake, over to death for Jesus' sake, so his life can be revealed in your mortal
Hmm.
body.
Yeah.
And the reference there is to Gideon's pots, which the pots were broken that revealed the light of the torch. We have a treasure in us, and that treasure only gets revealed through the cracks that come through trials and hardships. So not only are we not destroyed if we're following Jesus by hardships, we become better because it lets the light out.
Yeah.
Romans 5 says that we rejoice in sufferings because suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope. And hope doesn't disappoint because God has poured out his love into our hearts by the Holy Spirit that he has given to us.
That's so hopeful. I read James 1, and this is in the NIRV, the New
Whoa.
International Readers Version, which is for new readers. But, anyways, it says, Blessed is the person who keeps on going when times are hard. After they have come through hard times, this person will receive a crown. The crown is life itself. The Lord has promised it to those who love him. But kind of this idea of, and you talked about it, um, but your AQ, because you're mentioning how there, okay, there's your IQ, there's your EQ, your emotional intelligence, but then there's also your AQ, your adversity quotient. Like how do you bounce back? What is your level um of resilience, and how hard does life have to get in order for you to get knocked out?
That's a beautiful thought. We tend to, when we hire, think about someone's smarts. What's your IQ? How smart are you? Or, like you said, even when we're getting maybe more progressive, your EQ, thinking about your emotional quotient. But that AQ is huge.
Mm-hmm.
How much difficulty is it going to take for you to call it quits? How many
Mm-hmm.
times do you got to get snubbed before you're going to get bitter? How much do things have to not go your way before you eventually get soured and walk away? What's your
Yeah.
AQ?
Yeah.
And even just having a language around that, even just knowing that's a thing and something to think about, tenacity, grit, endurance, perseverance, that there's a strength of spirit inside of you that can get knocked down over and over again, but keep getting up. That is resilience.
Yeah.
And I mean, study after study after study has pointed to the benefits of it. That if you are a resilient person, you tend to have higher work satisfaction, higher levels of engagement, overall sense of well-being, lower depression levels, and even a protection in some cases from physical illnesses. Just where
Hmm.
there's that mindset of, when hard things come my way, they're not there to destroy me. They're actually there to deepen me, to develop me.
Yeah.
They're a necessary part of my developmental process of growing to the next level, of getting to that character and hope and strength. And okay, God has this for me. And the jar gets broken so that the light that he put inside of me can shine out. And
Yeah.
he let me experience the death so that there could be life. And I think when we think about resilience, we're thinking. I love pictures, and I love the picture of Black Panther's suit. You
Hmm.
know, Black Panther gets hit, gets hit, gets hit every time his suit absorbs it, and then he weaponizes it. So not only are you not able to destroy Black Panther, you're actually engineering your own defeat by shooting energy at him,
So
because
good.
he's going to bounce that back. And I think when we're resilient people, we can go through hardship, we can go through, face criticism, face opposition, face difficulty, face darkness. But I think that the life of following Jesus, and certainly to see this double down in leadership, where there's a mentality of, hard times don't discourage me. They actually are something I can use as fuel.
Yeah. Well, and with that too, it's also how you pivot. Because even, I mean, basically, it's like you're getting thrown, I mean, in basketball, you're getting thrown a hard time, but how are you looking for how to bounce it back, and how to make it into the goal, well, into the basket or whatever. But like, I just picture the stance that you have to have in order to pivot. You have to have um, your base leg has to stay put, but then your other foot is like moving around. So like you're in a deep like squat lunge and you're holding that basketball and you're looking and you're aware, but you're also moving around. And I just, even just in this past year, seeing people on our team, seeing people, other people who lead churches who are in our lives, like I've just seen that where it's like, and even us too, it's like we've had to figure out how to pivot and how to move and how to change and how to look different, our perspective, looking at things differently. And okay, what's who's open, who's, and I think it's just that active pivoting, that active resilience,
Mhm.
thinking about things differently, but also being active about it too.
Yeah, because plans are fine, but as that old boxing line goes, it's fine to have a plan until you get punched in the mouth.
Right.
And I think that was Mike Tyson who said that, and all of us are going to get punched in the mouth in your career, in your education. There's going to be setbacks, there's going to be trials, the zeal of starting out a new job, all of that. Then eventually you're going to take a hit to the mouth. And that's when we're really going to find out what's inside of you.
Mm,
Is there a resilience that causes you to be hungry and thirsty for another shot at, another crack at it? Can you rally? Can you get back up and get back in for another round? Or are you going to call it right then and there? So I think it's really an important thing for us all to understand, to know it's something we can deepen and develop. You're not stuck with the level of resilience that you currently have. You can grow in this way, because the traits that studies have found lead to resilience are a positive attitude,
Mm.
optimism, the ability to regulate your emotions, and the ability to see failure as a form of helpful feedback. And
Mm.
so, because that's true, it
That's
would then
good.
cause there to be some EQ in your AQ, some emotional quotient to your ability to see adversity as something that is there to develop you. And you can learn to think differently. You can learn to frame things differently. You can
Mm.
learn to handle your emotions in a way where they're indicators, not dictators. That's how Lisa Turkers likes to say it.
Mm.
You read your emotions as an indicator, but it's not a dictator, meaning you don't automatically do what you feel like doing the moment you feel like doing it until you process it
It's
through
good.
a framework or a grid,
Yeah.
and then you choose to do whatever's going to come next, having given it a good think
Mm-hmm.
without just acting instantly. And
Hmm.
so I think it is a really, really important thing. Um, Psychologists refer to this as being something that is not a limited or a fixed asset. It's not like the amount of resilience you start out with is what you're going to be stuck with forever. If you're intentional, this is something you can grow.
Yeah. Well, I love that because it's so hopeful because it's like, okay, maybe you haven't always been resilient or you haven't always bounced back the way you hoped you would or the way you think you should, but that is something that you can get stronger in and grow in. Just like, I mean, you can grow your IQ, I think,
Yeah, absolutely.
as you learn, as you are more hungry and thirsty for knowledge and learning and growing and getting better and stronger, but also your EQ, you can grow that too, where you're learning what it means to be
Absolutely.
emotionally strong.
And
So
that's where I
that's,
declare war came out for me,
mm-hmm.
having taken an emotional intelligence test and not done nearly as well as I would have hoped to.
Mm,
That process set into motion a period where I was really focused on some of those things. And then the test that I took in the book, Intelligence 2.0, it allowed you to take it again months later and to see improvement, to see
yeah,
growth there. And I think the same's true for a level of adversity quotient that any one of us
yeah,
possess.
yeah,
But nothing's going to grow that you're not focused on,
right.
except for weeds. Weeds grow when you're not paying attention. But fruit, good things, these things you have to focus and track it and enlist help and make sure you're doing the right things. So that comes down to really the meat of this conversation. And and so what is emotional intelligence that leads to a resilience of spirit? What does it boil down to in your day to day life? Three things, and then a fourth. And it's first of all the way that you think or how you
Mm,
think. That is essentially what we're talking about when we're resilient people, because a resilient person knows that a task isn't going to be easy. That's A, but has decided in their mind they're going to be victorious or they're going to accomplish this thing at all costs.
yeah,
But then, third and finally, how you think about hardship and things you face that are challenging, you immediately say to yourself, this isn't the end. If you've decided, hey, this isn't going to be easy, so we don't have a naive understanding of what this is going to look like, and we know that it's going to happen at all costs, then that allows us to get to that third step of thinking about setbacks as not the end.
yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that I know I do. It's easy to catastrophize. And I
Mm,
think this is it, party's over. And the moment there's a setback and to see it, we shouldn't have done this. I knew we shouldn't have ever tried this. And your mind tends to go there. I felt that within weeks of having moved here to start the church.
right.
What have we done? This is a mistake. And your mind wants to catastrophize. The mind is really good at creating catastrophe scenarios.
Yes. It
Uh,
comes so
but
naturally.
instead, it's remembering, okay, hold on. We said at the beginning this wasn't going to be easy. So actually, I'm going to see this trial as confirmation I was on the right track.
Yeah.
And now that this has happened, I've already decided that this is not going to be the end. It's not how this story ends.
Yeah. I know we're trying to teach that to our kids right now. And when something seemingly quote unquote bad happens, and it could be a variety of things, it's how we think about it and it's how we view the thing that will either hurt us or help us. So, um, if I'm trying to think what something that I've told the kids, but like, okay, so we're not going to get ice cream today. That could be like, oh, that's so unfair. I can't believe this. I'm so mad. I'm blah, blah, blah. Or it could be, we'll go another day, or like just a simple way to view things that are bad that happen. It changes everything when we can stop a second, take a minute, look at what the thing is, and evaluate how are we looking at this thing. And it can change everything if we can look at it with okay, this could be different. I can think of this differently. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what I'm trying to teach the kids right now.
Well, just refusing the worst case scenario thinking. And our minds naturally go there out of fear or protection or whatever. We tend to play things out to their worst.
Yeah.
Your husband's late from work for 1 hour, and so you're already picturing the 10-car pile up on the freeway and planning his funeral in your head. It's like
totally.
We can tend to assume the worst. We misplaced Daisy, for a few minutes on a ski hill the other day, and it was like automatically it's like she's in a tree. Well, we're never gonna see. Your mind you have to refuse to catastrophize.
Right.
And I think when a setback happens in work or in a project or in a goal, you tend to, forget it. We never should have started this. I knew we never were meant to do this. I should have just stayed at the insurance job where I was safe. And your mind can play tricks on you. And resilience comes from regulating how you think. And by remembering at the beginning, we knew there was going to be trials. We knew this wasn't going to be easy. We knew cleaning the garage was going to really be wearying. And so when we hit that halfway mark and everything's in the driveway, we're tempted to go, what were we thinking? Who are we, mere mortals, to stand up against this garage? No, hold on. We knew this was going to be hard. We had realistic expectations. Here's the difficulty. This is going to happen.
Yeah.
So that means that this setback is not the end.
Right.
We'll figure out what storage unit to get later for all this crap. Fine. Whatever it is, your solution is, or your panacea is, you're instead going to now just take the next step you need to take. So that's how you think. It's in life, very seldom the thing you're facing that's the problem. It's almost always how you think about the thing.
Right.
And I'm not being glib. Like I'm saying, like even with death for us, we know death is real. Death is hard. We faced it. But it's not just death that's the problem. It's how we think about death.
Right.
And the Bible has given us a framework to think about death, that it's not the end, that it's the transference for a Christian to eternal life. And so we get to choose to not just face the thing, but to examine how we think about the thing.
Right.
This is until next time. This is Jesus is conquered. It doesn't look conquered, but it is conquered. Death has been defeated. It doesn't look defeated, but we're choosing to see this as a setback. And that's how Paul said, hey, these trials I'm facing, which was being whipped, beaten, stoned, persecuted, he said, I choose to look at it as a mere temporary trial and nothing to be compared to the weight of glory. It's like, hello. He says, it's not the thing. It's how I think about the thing.
Exactly.
I love the Edison illustration. Edison famously, of course, invented the light bulb. He tried 1,000 different times. They were unsuccessful before he successfully made a light bulb. He had to find this bamboo filament and finding the exact thing that went in there to cause the conduction of this electricity that made light. And a reporter asked him at the end of his experiments, how did it feel to fail 1,000 times? And Edison replied, I didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was merely an invention with 1,000 steps. And that was how I got to the light bulb.
Yeah.
Not the thing I was facing, how I was thinking about the thing. He had a growth mentality, a growth mindset. Viktor Frankl said, everything can be taken away from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. To still choose one's own way. And you're like, well, who's Viktor Frankl? Hello, he was a Holocaust survivor.
Wow.
Concentration camp, wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning and talked about how even there you could still choose. You could still have your perspective of attitude. And so I think it's incredibly different to face difficulties when you have chosen ahead of time to reframe them in a different light.
Yeah, that's so good. The second one.
The second one is how you heal. How you heal is a massive part of resilience because even in the first construct we've unpacked, it kind of is a little bit, if you take it to its extreme, Monty Python, Knights of the Holy Grail. That is though what we're trying to say is no matter how hurt you are, no matter how bad something gets, just pretend it's fine. Say to yourself, it's just a flesh wound.
Right.
I'll bite your kneecaps off. We are the knights that say knee, just to all of a sudden, just some of you are like very lost right there. Please get on YouTube and watch Monty Python, the nights that say knee. But
Yes.
there's this almost denial that we're talking about could almost become unrealistically playing hurt, gutting it out. I've got a hamstring that's ripped out, but hey, I'm just going to keep going in
Just
the
gonna
game,
keep going. I'm
coach.
not gonna deal with this. I'm just gonna act in the pain that I'm in. And that doesn't help anybody because it doesn't help you and it doesn't help the people who you're meant to lead.
So resilient people heal well. They acknowledge hurts, they acknowledge wounds, they don't pretend they're not there. They just do what's necessary to heal those things up so that they can get back into the game.
Right. That's so good.
So being a person who's resilient doesn't mean you ignore consequences, doesn't mean you ignore difficult conversations, because a part of healing might mean challenging conversations, clarifying questions, seeking clarity where there's ambiguity. If there's been injury, if there's been hurt, taking the time, whether that's therapy, whether that's support from a pastor, whether that's maybe a change in how you approach your schedule. So it's not burning through, your vacation days, never work your day off. I'm just resilient. No, that's just being silly, because you're a mere
Well, it's
mortal.
being foolish.
You're going to be foolish. It will take you out. So it's
Yeah.
finding a sustainable pace.
Yeah.
It's rhythms. It's getting wisdom and insight from other people in your life, making wise choices, healing well.
Yeah.
And then thirdly, how you fuel and recover. These two things go hand in hand. And it really does come down to this simple formula. If there's a greater demand on you than there is a supply in you, you will inevitably crack.
That's good.
There has to be taking on of calories to equal and greater to the calories being expended.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to, any project, anything you're doing, there needs to be those calories, that rejuvenation. If it's running a triathlon, performing in a triathlon, there's a formula for how much you need to eat on the bike, how much you need to drink before you swim, how much you need to take in while you're running. You can't go against that and win.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to the long haul of leadership, of running a business, of scaling a company, of leading a team, there needs to be an intentional strategy given over to how you fuel. Now, in our worldview, this as Christians, this includes for us taking in spiritual calories, like the word of God, which is better than bread, but it also is actual food. If I'm just eating McDonald's and junk and garbage, I'm not going to feel well because I'm not fueling well. I'm not going to be resilient because I'm putting things in my body that aren't giving my body what they actually need.
Right. Also, I love how you said the trial exposes what was or wasn't done in preseason. So when we go through hard things that we need to be resilient in, how it reveals and exposes what we were doing or what we weren't doing. So if we are eating healthy, if we are well, that will be exposed in the trial. But if we're not, if we're unhealthy, if we're not doing well, that's what's going to be exposed in the
100%.
trial.
I couldn't agree more. There was a great HBR Harvard Business Review article on this topic of resilience, where they said the key to resilience is trying really, really hard, then stopping, recovering, refueling before trying again. And so, this so lines up with the biblical notion of 1 and 7 as a day of rest, 1 and 7 as a day of Selah, of Sabbath, of rejoicing in the finished work of God, the work behind you, the work ahead of you, and being really good at not taking on, because there can be a taking on of more than you can sustain, and then eventually burning out because you weren't recovering well. And so, it's whatever it takes for you to be at your best, and everyone's aptitude's different. But if it's vacation days, if it's a day of solitude, if it's a day of camping, you might like being lost in a mall. That might be replenishing for you. So I think you have to know, to be resilient, what your personal, love language for your self-care is.
Yeah,
I don't know,
really
for you,
good.
it's being clear with me of, hey, I would love an afternoon without the kids where I can just be in the house without them here. So it's amazing. Me knowing that, we can prioritize that. If it's a pedicure, if it's, for me, a long bike ride or going fishing or whatever it is, like certain things are going to rejuvenate you disproportionately to the time that you're putting into it. And to not do those things is actually going to cause you to, where you see, the weird thing is sometimes we don't do those things thinking I'm putting the mission first by putting me last. You're actually putting the mission last when you put yourself last, because you're going to be a ticking time bomb of eventually cracking, of eventually the whites of your eyes showing, giving into the fatigue. So that's why I've always said it's the least selfish thing you can do is to take care of yourself well.
Yeah.
And by doing those things,
That's
you're
so
actually going to
helpful.
have that endurance and long-term ability to function and to be at your best.
Yeah, that's great.
So
Fourth.
Well, that was 3 and 4.
Oh, 3 and 4.
Right? How you think, how you heal, how you recover, and how you fuel. Those 3, they were secret 4s.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I think ultimately the great thing for us as Christians is we have this wonderful trump card of the Holy Spirit too. So in those moments where we feel like we've really lost it and we don't have anything more to give, we always get to ask God to renew us with wings like eagles.
That's right.
And to give us that strength to do what we can't do even 1 second longer.
We can't be resilient on our own.
That's the beautiful thing. This isn't just a call to us to be enough on our own.
Yeah. Muster up the strength. Try to figure it out. Like that's the opposite of what we're saying. The resilience comes from
because there are days where you feel like, man, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much more I can take. And if one more thing happens, it's going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. And I swear and whether it's on a marriage or on a dream, I just think it's so easy to give up. And so I think what's great about the message on resilience is it's something that we have a role to play in.
Yeah.
But it's also B, tapping into something bigger than any one of us.
That's right.
And so, yes, I'm going to recover well and fuel well and heal well, and also make sure I'm not allowing negativity and sinful thinking to creep in how I'm approaching this. But I'm also going to ask God to fill me with His Holy Spirit, and to give me a great new power and a great new energy, and to do what I can't do on my own, and to remember, like Jesus said in John 15:5, apart from me, you can do nothing.
Right.
And so when you have that mentality, I think it makes you unstoppable.
That's right. Amen. Good.
Well, I hope this has been
amazing.
Encouraging. It's fun just to even talk about it.
Yeah.
And just encourage each other in resilience.
Yeah.
And so if this episode's helped you, maybe send it to someone in your life who you think could benefit from it, or maybe you could listen with somebody from work or a team together and kind of talk about it. And this is by no means exhaustive. There's so many great articles out there and things you can read, but it's just something, once you know about it as a factor, it's like, okay, your legs are weak because you've been skipping leg day. All right, well, let's work on this a little bit.
Right. There's a next step for you, and our prayer is that you would, whether from this talk or whatever, but that you would find what that next step is for you. And sometimes it feels like a tiny step, but that's a good step in the right direction. And our prayer is that you would find your strength in the Lord, and that you would be filled and refreshed by His Holy Spirit as you lead, and as you lead yourself and lead the people in your life. And we just believe that God has great things in you and through you.
Yeah, thanks for listening. If this has encouraged you in any way, please do let us know on social media. We would love to hear what part of this was helpful. Did you enjoy this leadership talk? And as always, the reviews on iTunes, Spotify, all that, any comments you leave in the description helps other people who see them and come across them. And as you share these, whether it's on YouTube or anywhere else that you can on your Facebook or whatever, it's incredible to hear the power of people who have been enjoying this, leveraging it, sharing it with other people. So we're grateful. We'll see you next week.
Love you guys.
Thanks for listening. Thank you so much for listening. And be sure to swing by levilusko.com to see what's going on in our world, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. In the meantime, we would love to connect with you on social media. Jennie and Levi Lusko, out.